So good morning. My name is Lacey Clem, and I'm the Northwest Regional Coordinator from the Indiana State Library's Professional Development Office. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. We are pleased to have Mike Commons, Indiana Legal Help Manager, with us today to give us a session about Indiana Legal Help. How can libraries support publicly accessible legal information? I'd like to start off the webinar with a few announcements. To register for other webinars and trainings available from the Professional Development Office, please see the Indiana State Library's events calendar, which can be found on our website at library.in.gov under Services for Libraries. For a full list of our current in-person training menu, please see our continuing education website. If there's a global sound issue during the webinar, we will announce it in the chat box. If you're unable to resolve the sound issue you are experiencing, we are recording this session and you can watch it offline after the meeting has ended. Again, if there is a global sound issue, we will make an announcement in the chat box. Also, make sure your chat is set to everyone in the chat drop-down menu so we can see your comments and questions. I will be monitoring the chat so that Mike will be able to answer questions throughout the presentation. Today's webinar will be archived and available on the Indiana State Library's archive trainings page after it has been transcribed. This session is worth 1 LEU, and at the end of the webinar, I will put a link to a form you can fill out to request your LEU certificate. Without further ado, I will turn the presentation over to Mike.
Thanks, Lacey. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me just fine. I also wanted to sort of remind, as Lacey mentioned, if at any point in time during the presentation, did anybody's got a question about something I've just said or a topic I'm currently talking about, please feel free to go ahead and type into the chat, and Lacey, feel free to interrupt me at any point in time if it feels like at that moment is the most relevant time to go and ask that question, and I'm happy to address it as we go along. Again, Lacey and the State Library appreciate the opportunity to come here and provide some training and education on this topic. I'm Mike Commons. I'm the Indiana Legal Help Manager. I work for the Indiana Bar Foundation. That's the slide you're currently looking at. The foundation is a statewide charitable organization and trusted partner advancing civic literacy and the legal system by leading improvements to civic education and legal assistance for all Hoosiers. We do this by offering programs like We the People, Mock Trial, and Kids Election. Those impact over 10,000 students around the state each year. And we also do this by providing funding to organizations that offer free civil legal aid to qualifying Hoosiers, and by connecting people to legal resources and information through the Indiana Legal Help website. Today, I'm going to be presenting specifically on the Indiana Legal Help website and the information and resources that are found there. So indianalegalhelp.org, which is the site that you're looking at here, was created in 2018 by the Coalition for Court Access. The Coalition for Court Access is a body, a committee that's put together and governed by the Indiana Supreme Court, and it's made up of legal experts from lawyers to judges to law school staff to other professionals that are related and linked to civil legal assistance and access to courts. IndianaLegalHelp.org is a site that seeks to connect Hoosiers to free and low-cost legal assistance and is a hub for self-help resources and information. Users of the site include self-represented litigants looking for information or to connect with free legal aid, civil legal aid organizations, forms, for example, for court staff. It's also for organizations that provide social services. It's for attorneys, and it's for volunteers. We had over 350,000 unique site users in 2022, still doing the math for 2023. How to find the site is to simply go to indianalegalhelp.org, whether that's on a computer or on your smartphone. You can also find indianalegalhelp.org at any one of our 150 kiosks that are located around the state. There's at least one kiosk in each county, and those are located in courthouses, in your libraries, and in some other community spaces. what I wanted to focus on first, make sure. Yeah, what I wanted to focus on first is this function that you can see here that says get legal help. So get legal help is a function where the user can click on that button, and then they're provided with a couple of different options. One is to enter their specific zip code or the county that they live in, and then also optionally to provide a legal topic that they're looking for help related to. Okay. So for example, if I entered Marion County in the search, it would pull up a page that showed organizations that provide civil legal assistance to self-represented litigants in Marion County. One particular example here that I've got highlighted would be the Indianapolis Legal Aid Society. The user can then click on that particular organization, and you'll be taken to a screen where it will show you specifically what the Indianapolis Legal Aid Society is, website, location, telephone number, email address, hours of operation, what counties are served, and what particular legal issues that organization can assist with. Okay? No matter what county is entered, you'll get a list of organizations that have specifically been curated and have self-identified as providing service to self-represented litigants within that particular county. If you also sub-select for a particular legal topic, you will then only be shown organizations that have also self-identified as providing assistance for that particular legal topic. I believe in this search that I ran here, I didn't provide, I didn't filter for a particular legal topic, and so any legal topic is shown here. But it's important to know that this search function in our site is not intended to provide a recommendation on which particular organization a user should be contacting. Rather, instead, it provides a list of available resources, right? Available organizations that site users can see, and then they determine on their own which particular organization it is that they want to select. The Get Legal Help search function, in addition to returning organizations, will also return a list of calendar events, free legal clinics, etc., that are available, again, in that same county. And this is an example of a screen that would appear when a search is done for particular events in the calendar. And so again, this particular slide was obviously drafted back in August, because you can see that these are August 16th particular events, but you can, again, filter by zip code, filter by county, filter by legal issue, just like with the organizations. And again, you'll be shown a list of upcoming events, free legal clinics or events, and the user can click on those particular calendar events and be shown, again, a description about what that particular event is about. It'll indicate if it recurs on any sort of regular basis. It will indicate whether it's an in-person event, whether it's a fully remote or virtual event, or if it's a hybrid event where you can attend in person or virtually. The particular location, again, and this is either going to be a street address for in-person or hybrid events, or it's going to be a web address, a Zoom link, or a sort of remote video link that the user can then click on to access it if it's a hybrid or remote only event, date and time, and then the particular outfit that's putting on that training, the organizer, if you will. And in this particular instance, this is a tenant assistance event that was put on in a Marion County township, put on by a particular civil legal aid provider in Indianapolis. And the user can then access this information, and whether they can attend this event or not, there's always additional events that are happening around them in that time. So in addition to providing this Get Legal Help search function where you can find organizations and events in your area, we also provide information that relates to other legal topics. And specifically, this is information that we're providing so that the users can do their own work to sort of discover forms, resources and information that's specifically related to particular legal topics that they may be interested in. So from the homepage, after you've scrolled down past the Get Legal Help function, you will then encounter these boxes here, and these boxes provide, again, the user the ability to click into either one of the particular legal topics, so housing, family and safety, money and estate, etc., or they can click directly into one of the specific legal issues that's listed within the legal topic. So, for example, if they were in family and safety and they were interested perhaps in child support, they could actually click directly onto this button that says child support, and it would take them to this particular page here. Okay, and so on this child support legal issue page, this is a page that's similar to the other legal issue pages in that on the left-hand side, it will provide a list of forms that are related to this particular legal issue that are accessible and usable by the self-represented litigants. And on the right-hand side is a list of helpful resources and tools, again, that will either help clarify issues that are related to the particular topic that they're looking at, or will be sort of some other additional information that we believe is useful to the users when they're investigating this particular topic further. So forms is probably our most popular use within our website, although the Get Legal Help function, finding civil legal assistance or finding free legal clinics, is also very popular. But the forms we find to be very frequently used. Okay, so what I want to do is sort of walk you through the process of what it would look like to a user to locate a form and to get access to that information. So if the user then had come to this, perhaps had come to this child support legal issue page, and they wanted to investigate a particular form, for example, change child support when parents disagree. Okay, so they would click on this button here, and it would take their users to a page that provides a sort of description as to what the particular form is to be used for. The user has the ability to download instructions. This is a downloadable PDF. They can also download the fillable PDF forms here. Those forms then can be filled out either directly on the website that they're at, right? So whether they're sitting in a library using a terminal at the library, they download the form onto the website and then fill out the PDF directly on the computer there. Or if they're at a kiosk, the same can be happened. They can download the form onto the kiosk, and then they can sort of walk through filling out that form from the kiosk. And then when they're all done, either on the terminal or at the kiosk, they can then print that completed form out.
Hi, Mike. We have a question in the chat about what can a person expect when he or she calls, because some patrons prefer calling to email.
Okay. So when you say calling, do you mean calling Indiana Legal Help, or do you mean calling the library? Indiana Legal Help as a website, generally speaking, is a resource that users access from a computer as opposed to something that they access via telephone or via email. And so if we're talking about another function of the website, for example, the chat function, I can definitely address this if it's focused at the chat function when I get there. Yeah.
I guess they are asking if there is, for Indiana Legal Help, is there a call function, or is it all just through email or through the website?
Sure. Yeah. So Indiana Legal Help, again, it's a website that we at the foundation manage, but the foundation itself isn't an attorney's office. We don't provide legal advice to anybody. We don't represent anybody in any cases. And we don't provide, like I would say, we don't provide live assistance for assisting somebody at navigating the website. Okay, so if that's what the question is, if somebody's at navigating the website on their own and they've got a question about, where do I go next, or how do I use this particular function? We don't have any sort of live means of assisting them in that regard. And so if they've got a question about like the functioning of the website, then yeah, you're right. We do have them, but we do provide them with an email address that they can contact us to ask us questions about the functioning of the website itself. But we've worked very hard, and we hope that we have at least mostly achieved a design of the website such that it is mostly intuitive for users to be able to self-navigate toward information that's available. We typically find that users are typically only encountering problems, or mostly encountering problems when they're looking for something that isn't on the website, right? And so of course they're going to have trouble finding a thing that's not there, and so we certainly recognize that. And so yeah, that's the answer. Free and low cost tab. Okay, so this get started button you can see here on the current slide that I'm showing you takes you to our get legal help search function, the very first thing I described, where users will enter their zip code or county and a particular legal issue, and they'll be directed toward organizations that provide free civil legal assistance in their area, as well as free legal clinics in that area. And I'm also following along these chat questions here. That's correct. So yeah, again, so Indiana Legal Help is really a portal, if you will, where civil legal aid organizations and legal forms and legal resources and legal information are all sort of collectively housed in one place. And the public can get access to information about all of that by coming to indianalegalhelp.org. It's correct that we aren't the lawyers ourselves. We aren't the civil legal assistants ourselves. Instead, we connect users to those particular organizations. And they can even, in some instances, when they find a particular organization, so for example, Indiana Legal Services, they actually have a button where they can click to complete an application for to be hooked up with receiving services from that particular civil legal assistance organization through our website. But the other ones, again, will also provide either telephone numbers or email addresses or court websites, or not court websites, but internet websites for their particular organization, so that users can again be directly connected to those civil legal aid providers who can answer all the questions that they have that relate to legal advice and where they should go and what they should do and how they should achieve whatever it is their legal goal is. But talking about this, again, this particular form, so these forms can be downloaded, they can be completed, they can be printed. If your kiosk, if the kiosk is located in a courthouse, for example, the user can print that form after completing it and literally walk around the corner and file it with the clerk, whose office is right there in court also. And so for libraries that also happen to be in towns where there are courthouses, users can print those forms at that library, whether from a kiosk or from a terminal, and then take it over to the courthouse and file those forms with the clerk's office there. In addition, so a question about here that first got asked, where I thought maybe we were talking about the chat function on the website. Let's go there next. From all the pages on our website, in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see this little blue chat bubble that's available. And when a user clicks on this, they're presented with an option of choosing whether they have a housing focused question or a non-housing focused question. And the reason, first off, why we have that dichotomy is because the initial funding that paid for the kiosks that we now have around our state in all the counties were dollars that came through the Rescue Act dollars through emergency rental assistance that was distributed to us from the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority, an important partner for us, and enabled us to be able to build and manufacture these kiosks, get those placed all around the state. And then we also agreed that initially we would provide some focus directly on housing legal assistance, housing legal issues and information. And so our chat it also has this same focus in the sense that we're asking if you've got housing questions or non-housing questions, because if you select housing as the topic, you have the ability to be connected directly to a live human who can provide some assistance in getting you additional information about how to manage your particular housing issue. Those humans are, we could call them navigators. As you can see, we got this a button that says chat with the navigator. And if this is the housing help desk is open from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. Monday through Friday, except for on holidays. And when the user has clicked this chat with the navigator, this chat window will be a live communication between them and a non-attorney housing navigator. Those individuals all work for one of the various civil legal assistance, civil legal aid organizations around the state. And they have the ability to answer questions that the user has specifically around their housing issue. By and large, it's focused on helping Hoosiers that are facing eviction get connected with information and resources. And so those navigators can answer questions, some basic questions about what the process of eviction is about, what it looks like, what to expect from that process, particular sets of information that are useful and helpful to tenants facing eviction, useful to tenants who may be facing eviction who aren't yet, right? Also, to the extent that there are any rental assistance dollars still available, and the housing navigators can provide information to assist in helping connect those folks with the different outfits around the state that can help them get connected with the rental assistance application to be able to potentially get access to those dollars. But if it's not 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday, then they still have the ability to submit questions or submit a request to the navigators, either by clicking the button that says email, text, or online contact form. The email and the online contact form are both means where you can ask a question and it creates a ticket in the help desk for the navigators when they're back in, on the help desk the following day to be able to respond to those by email. If the user clicks text, then they can type in their message that they want to send and type in a telephone number. And then this conversation, the ticket with the help desk will be created. And when the navigators respond to that particular question, it will come back to the user via text message to their phone number that they have provided. And so that communication will again be communicated or done through text. And unless and until the user decides that they want to switch it to email, if they want to, they can always then switch to email. But text is also a means by which those help desk tickets can be managed. Let's see. In addition to the housing questions, we also have the ability for users to ask or to seek information about non-housing topics. Unfortunately, we didn't receive funding to pay for navigators to assist with non-housing issues. And so the chat bot, if you will, for the non-housing issues is more of a sort of a decision tree where the user can indicate that, what particular legal issue they want to find information about, or if they want to get connected to a lawyer, they can click on that and it will again assist them in navigating them toward the Get Legal Help search so that they can find that. We have found that we've gotten quite a lot of use out of this a chatbot function, whether it's housing related or non-housing. And it is in some respects acting in place of what might be like a search function within the website. We don't have that right now. And instead, we use this chatbot to assist them with non-housing issues. They can use that as a means of sort of filtering toward the particular end topic they're looking for. Or when it's housing, we find that the housing navigators are very helpful in being able to have that conversation with a person in live or in real time, or by asynchronously by sending an email or a text messaging and having that ticket go back and forth. Oftentimes, users are getting help with understanding how to prepare for their eviction hearing that's coming up. Well, like how do they, contact the court, and what are ways in which they can maybe push that court data out, and connecting them with the resources that could assist them to do that. None of the navigators are providing legal advice, so they're not suggesting what a person should do. Let's go ahead and take a peek real quick at what our kiosks look like for any attendees who aren't in a particular location that has a kiosk. So on the left-hand side, this picture here is what our freestanding kiosk looks like. So it sort of looks like an ATM. And then on the right-hand side, this is our desktop kiosk, and lots of libraries have this particular designed function. But again, both of these allow users to get connected to the Indiana Legal Help website, with the important difference being that if they're accessing the website from their phone, it may be difficult to fill out a form on your smartphone. It's impossible to print from your smartphone, and so accessing the kiosks is obviously a much bigger screen, and both of them have printers built in so that the user can print forms or print off perhaps the organizational information about a civil legal aid organization they want to contact, but they can't do it right at that moment, or print off perhaps information about a legal clinic they want to attend, but it's not today, it's another day, and so they just want to print that off so they have that information with them. They can take it with them and walk away from the kiosk with a copy of that information they want to remember. I also want to show, I want to start with a slide here, but I want to switch my sharing to actually show you this particular page on a web browser. So at the very bottom of footer of every page, and then the legal help, is that the link, the partner resources link, and it's going to provide valuable information about where the kiosks are. There's no charge for printing at a kiosk. Yeah, no. The user simply prints and it spits the paper out, and that's all there is to it. We work with our partners that have kiosks to ensure that they're provided with the supplies and the resources to continue to have the kiosks be able to function properly. And so part of that is paper and ink. And so it's a really valuable resource, and we're glad that we have partners who are willing to host our kiosks. So it's sort of a partnership where we're helping them by helping keep them, functioning properly, and they're helping by being a host for those. Let me switch my share here to show off our partner resource page. Let's see. All right, I think everybody can see this now. So if you click on that partner resource link at the bottom of the footer of any of our web pages, you'll be taken to this page. And this is a page that is focused at you folks. Okay, so our partners in trying to get assistance to the public, to the self-represented litigants. You can scroll down, you can see a map here of where all of the kiosks are located around our state. And as you can imagine, 150 kiosks is a lot, and it's a lot to manage, especially being as spread out as they are. But we have some really wonderful partners in our hosts who are active and are interested in maintaining, sort of a network to assist each other and to assist us in making sure that those kiosks continue to function properly. For the kiosk hosts, there's also this knowledge base, which is a set of information, instruction manuals, promotional materials, et cetera, for folks who are hosting kiosks so that they can be able to know how best to maintain that kiosk. We also have on the right-hand side a list of helpful resources that we believe our partners benefit from. The first is probably the most important. It relates, I think, to this comment that Christina made, which is that you folks don't always have time to be able to hands-on provide assistance to a user, to self-represented litigant about the information that's presented on the website or otherwise. And you may also have your own questions about what kind of information can I give to people? What can I say? What can't I say? And so this legal information guide is a link to an external website that is operated and run by the Indiana Supreme Court. And the purpose of this particular website is to provide a sort of a working definition, if you will, to partners like you all to better understand what can non-legal intermediaries say and what can they not say, and what are the types of topics they can talk about and what are the types of topics they can't talk about. Briefly, I can sort of give you just a couple of tips on that. One thing that folks can do, let's say you do have the time to chat with somebody, perhaps while they're using a kiosk or while they're accessing the website, you are certainly allowed to explain what court rules say or what court procedures say. You cannot, however, suggest which procedure someone should use or which rule they ought to pay attention to and not pay attention to. And you'll find that when it comes to things you can and cannot do, providing facts is typically something you can do. Making suggestions for what a user ought to do are things that you can't do. So if somebody's pulled up their case on My Case, you can help point out information that's visible on that, on that web page about what, past particular rulings have been in their case. If there's like a court order on their case and they don't understand, like, what's this court order say? Well, they can pull up the court order. You can certainly see what the words say and tell them what the words are, right? You can't talk about or predict what the court's going to do in the future in relation to any particular request that they're going to be making. You can explain like where to file something. So they may not know where the courthouse is, or they may not know where the clerk's office is, or that a clerk is even a thing. And you're certainly allowed to explain what a clerk is and where the clerk's office is located and how they would go about filing a document with the court, right? But you can't give opinions about like which judge is going to do what, or what's a better court to file. You should file in this court versus that court because of the way a judge or a reputation about a judge or some court, employees or otherwise might be. You can provide like a general referral to civil legal aid offices. And again, part of an important part of our website is the Get Legal Help search function, which again is the purpose is to direct users toward legal aid offices. But you'll notice that we give them all of the civil legal aid offices that they could potentially be seeking assistance from in their particular area, rather than focusing in or recommending a particular office. And so you all can provide general referrals or general information about all of the civil legal aid offices that could assist them in their issue. But you should not be recommending a particular office or a particular lawyer or a particular mediator or what have you that a particular, that a user could use or should use. As it relates to the forms and instructions, you absolutely can assist them in getting to those forms and assist them in understanding what the instructions say about how to complete a form. You can even look over their completed form and check to see, is it complete? Like, did they miss any information? And you could say, oh, it looks like you didn't enter this particular information in this box. So you should put, the answer to that question there. And if they don't understand what's supposed to go there, you can certainly identify sort of topically what is supposed to go in there. But you should not be providing or suggesting specific words that they should be entering into the form in a particular spot. And so it's all about helping them to understand what it is they're doing, but not suggesting exactly how they need to complete it. So question about the differences between the icons. The different icons indicate the particular type of location. So we've got these gavels, which indicate that they're located in a courthouse. Okay, so this one's in the Newton County Clerk's office. Whereas the book is located at a library. So that one's in the Monroe County Public Library. And you can also see there's an address indicating that. The yellow circle with the white dot in the middle is a location that's other than a court or library. So for example, we click here, we've got the Muncie Mission Delaware County Housing Hub. Okay, and so that's not a library and it's not a courthouse. It's more like a community service provider. And that's where that particular kiosk is located. Click down here, we've got River Valley Resources. Again, this is going to be a community resource center. Let's see. In addition to this legal information guide, we also have printable information that we want to provide to our partners. So for example, we've got bookmarks that can be downloaded. We've got these 3 different flyers that are currently up here that provide information again about what is Indiana Legal Help, what's the help desk, and what are kiosks. And these particular resources can be downloaded and printed by our partners, can be handed out to the users at their location. And we would just suggest you not printing too many at a time, because we do make changes to these from time to time. And so we may update them with new information. And so that might mean if you've got a whole pile of these printed off, that they are now out of date and potentially provide information that's not fully accurate at some point. Yes, okay. So looking back here at the website, again, I'm just going to click back to our main page here. And again, just to go over this quickly. So this is the Get Legal Help function that we talked about initially. Here's the calendar of events. Here are the links to the legal topics and the legal issues that can get you to those forms and resources. We also have some quick links located here, and these are sort of like commonly accessed resources. So the first one is a very frequently used link. There are some forms that we have on our website here that aren't specifically related to one of these legal issues or topics above, but instead are sort of more general or generic forms. So for example, a continuance is a form that someone can use to change the date of a particular court event. So if they got a hearing coming up, but they can't make it for one of various reasons, they can use this continuance form to change, to ask the court to move the date out to a later date. And that's usable in any of the various different legal issues or legal cases that might exist. So it's not specific to any particular one. And so we have that form, as well as something like perhaps a fee waiver. So again, we're focused on trying to assist folks with limited means. And so if they're filing a new case, there's always a court fee that goes along with filing those cases. But if you're of limited means, then you have the ability to ask the court to waive that fee. And so downloading and completing a fee waiver would be a way for that user to avoid having to pay that fee and still be able to file their case. I see that we've got a question about requesting a kiosk. I will say this. We've paid for, we've manufactured, and we've placed 150 kiosks, and we only have the 150 kiosks. But I will say we're currently in the process of renewing and extending our agreements with kiosk hosts for us to continue to extend the provision of our assistance to helping them maintain those kiosks, and on their end to extend their willingness to continue to host a kiosk. And so I will say to you, Mariah, or anyone else here, that I'm going to provide my contact information at the very end of the chat today. If anybody is interested in becoming a kiosk host, to contact me, and I will add your name to a list of individuals who are seeking to have a kiosk placed at their location. And as we complete the renewal process, we think it's inevitable that there will be some kiosk hosts that, for one reason or another, decided they want to have those kiosks moved on to someone else that is more useful. And we're happy to, again, assist that. And so we'll put your name in the list. And if you become sort of the next up, then we'll be in contact with you about the process to become a kiosk host. But I will say this, I anticipate it will be a limited number. So, but we appreciate the interest, and we want to be flexible to be able to get kiosks moved from a location to another where they may be more useful. So these sort of finished up a discussion about these quick links. We've also got information for after the case is filed, what they may need to do, questions about filing fees. And then lastly, there's a link to the local rules. The counties in Indiana have the ability to, I would call it a limited ability, but an ability to put requirements in place about how certain things need to be done procedurally, if you will, within their particular county. And so that may be different from one county to the next. And so as a user, if you're planning on filing something in a particular county, they're always sort of suggested to read the local rules to determine whether or not there's not some additional requirement that they need to meet in the filing of a particular document or following a particular procedure. We've got a question from Andrea about suggestions that we have for directing folks who need criminal legal advice. These requests cause conflict with folks who are seeking to self-represent in criminal case matters. So we don't provide criminal legal resources, criminal legal information, or referrals for criminal legal representation because the state has a system in place where users of limited means are provided an attorney at no cost already. And those are public defenders. And so anytime we get questions about criminal legal assistance, we always suggest that they contact their local county public defender office. And I think I don't have the link handy, but there is a link that will take someone to, I think, a database of information that will help them find their local county public defender office. But generally speaking, I think a Google search will get them pretty quickly to whatever their particular county's public defender office contact information is. And again, because those are already provided at no cost for folks of limited means, that's the system that we support and the system that we direct folks and users to. Folks who want to self-represent in criminal case matters, they are left to that decision themselves. The reason why we provide civil legal information and these resources is because there is no state-supported system. Okay, at least it's not supported in the same way as the criminal system is, in the sense that the support we get is financial, and it is sort of filtered down through into the civil legal aid organizations. but there's no right to an attorney in a civil legal case. And so that distinction is what leads us to fill that gap with as much information, as many resources as we can, because there's no right to an attorney in a civil legal case. But there is one in a criminal case. So if folks want to self-represent in those matters, that is, of course, a right, but it's also one that where they've been given the opportunity to have an attorney, and if they don't want one, then in all circumstances, if you choose to represent yourself, the court has the right to put the same burden on you as they would put on you if you had an attorney, which is to assume you know what you're doing and assume you're able to complete the process and know what the steps are. That's what we do. And obviously I can't tell you that's what you've got to do, but directing them to public defender is, I find, the most valuable way to give them assistance, because getting attorneys is probably the best way for anyone can to be able to assist themselves, if you will, is by having an attorney. But if they are either not interested or unable to sort of get that kind of access, then we provide forms and information here for those civil legal questions. This volunteer opportunities is a window or portal for pro bono opportunities. So this is for lawyers who want to be able to get access to provide pro bono assistance to particular individuals. And it's by working with several partners. They upload opportunities here, meaning they find out that a particular individual has a particular civil legal need, and that gets logged into this sort of queue, if you will, of opportunities. And then attorneys can hop in here and effectively take that opportunity and provide that legal assistance to them. We are a nonprofit, so donations is always a welcome, but I realize I'm talking to a group of people who are also looking for donations, so maybe not so totally directed at you all. But then lastly, again, we've got these shortcuts and then our partner resources page. Let's see. So yeah, so these links that Eric has thrown into the chat here are, for example, these forms are going to be specific to Marion County. This link to all court forms, the indy.gov, these are going to be specific forms for Marion County small claims courts. And just like on our website, we've got this shortcut link to Indiana County Court local rules. There are going to be differences between small claims forms that are used in Marion County versus small claims forms that are used in other counties. Now, shouldn't be this way, I think. I think we should be able to live in a state and a world where any particular form that's used in one place should be usable in another place, but you'll find that that's not always the case. So we do have in so I think we do have small claims. We have a renter's guide, but let's see. Oh yeah, so here's Indiana Small Claims Manual, yes. And this is a manual that's not created by a particular county, but this is instead created by the Indiana Supreme Court. And so this provides information that's not specific to any one county, but instead is applicable to all counties in Indiana. It may also therefore be a little more general, whereas you may find that the information that Eric's linked to here may be more specific because it is a resource that the Marion County, City County, and the courts in Marion County have put together. So it's specific to Marion County. Okay. But Another important topic, or another important, I think, form that we are directing folks to is this particular form here, the eviction ceiling form. And again, this is found under the housing, rent, and eviction section. And this particular form is usable and useful for folks that have had an eviction filed against them, but that one of these potential procedures happen within their eviction case that would then allow them to be able to download and complete this form and then file it with the court, which would in effect expunge or seal that eviction case so that when they go and apply for another lease somewhere to try and rent a place somewhere, that this particular eviction case that they have gotten sealed now will not be flagged when that a credit check is run, right? Credit check and eviction record check. This case won't pop up, and so therefore they won't be negatively impacted by the previous case. And so this is really, we find it extremely useful for folks because of how difficult it is, first off, to find housing all by itself. But if you've got an eviction on your record, that normally difficult task becomes sometimes impossible. And so this will help them get that case sealed as long as they meet one of these particular conditions. And civil legal aid organizations and also the free legal clinics are excellent ways to have a user get assistance in completing this particular form. Doing a search here in the events will show that there are, statewide eviction legal aid clinics. There are clinics for domestic violence survivors that have housing issues. We've got a question. Will the site include residential lease forms? So is that a question asking us if we're going to provide like templates for leases so that the public, if they want to lease out their own property, if they want to become a landlord, if you will, and they want to lease their property to somebody else, can they find an example of a lease form? Is that what the question is? Most of the time, I'll preempt it, no, for patron looking for an apartment or a house. So they're looking for a house. So they're looking to find a place to rent. So I would say that somebody who's looking for a house or an apartment probably doesn't need a lease themselves, right? Instead, that the landlord is going to be the one that's going to have that lease. But if the question is, are we going to include information about leases or information about housing? I will say that if a user comes here and they've got questions about their lease, questions about a potential lease, a proposed lease that they may sign, they may not sign, they can come to our chat box here and they can say, I've got a housing question, right? So if they're asking for a lease, then usually the landlord is the person who creates the lease, right? It would be pretty rare for a proposed tenant to say, hey, I want to rent your place that's already, for rent, and then they bring the lease themselves. Yeah, so yeah, I guess so. I would see, I can totally understand a landlord seeking to find a lease because they want to rent their place out and they don't know what's supposed to go in a lease, right? They don't know how to prepare one, and they're not a sophisticated property manager, right? They're just a regular person like the rest of us. And they're like, I don't know what's supposed to go in a lease. I don't know how to draft that. We focus our resources on individuals that wouldn't be able to afford to hire an attorney, right? And I think we would typically say that if somebody owns a property that they're not living in, that they want to lease to somebody else, then they are probably in a position where they can afford to hire a lawyer to ask the question, what should my lease say, right? They own their own home. They also own another property that they're renting out to somebody or want to rent out, and they need a copy of the lease so they can create one. In those instances, we would suggest that you find an attorney to help answer your question about what your lease should say. And, you know, there's been a shift in the legal field where attorneys are now seeking to provide very limited assistance, if you will. It's oftentimes referred to as a limited scope representation, or a term they sometimes use now, unbundled legal services. And so you're not actually like hiring a lawyer to represent you in a case and do this whole thing. And so you're like, no, I want to hire you to draft one document for me, right? And that limited scope representation is typically something that's much more affordable because it's a flat fee service. Like I'm paying you to draft a form for me. So it's like a few $100, maybe, like draft a document and give me the document, not providing me any legal advice. Otherwise, you're not representing me in a court case. You're not doing any of those things that, typically would come along with a full representation. And so you may be able to find that. And when it comes to hiring attorneys, again, we're always providing just a broad general reference to, like, go to your Indiana State Bar Association and do a search there for the kind of attorney you're looking for. We don't, again, refer anybody to a specific lawyer or to a specific office. And that's like I said, that's such a recent change in legal practice. Lacey, I see you popped up.
Yeah, we just have a few minutes left. So I know that you said you were going to put your information in the chat box if anybody else has any further questions. But I know that this was I found this very informative. So I appreciate you going through the website and giving us more information on that.
So here's my information. And we also have a Facebook page. So what do they say? Like, subscribe? I don't know. Follow, share. I'm not the social media manager, so I don't know the spiel, but here's my information, and I am happy to help our partners in this area to help explain what it is that the site does, and I also appreciate the comments that have come in about suggestions for other ways we can provide additional assistance to users, to the public. I can tell you that hearing from you folks that are on the front lines, who are actually interacting with the end users, is the best. And I think the way with the most fidelity for us here at the Bar Foundation and at Indiana Legal Help to know what's the next resource we need, like what's the other thing we need. And so I appreciate all the suggestions, and whether we can or cannot get it up on the site, I still want to hear about it, and it's the most useful information for us. So I truly appreciate all the comments that are focused on that.
I will be sending out the recording to all the participants today, and it'll be on the website once it's been transcribed. But so that'll be provided in the next few days for everyone. So I did put the link in for the LEU form. I'll put that in one more time towards the end because I know it kind of scrolls up. So let's put that back in there again. But thank you, Mike, for doing this presentation today. I know legal questions are always very daunting for us librarians, so this is very helpful information. And Mike will also be doing this again later in the year as well. So and maybe he'll have some extra information for us then too. So
yeah, and I would also say to Lacey and Lisa, Paula, and everybody else attending, if you think there are particular topics that would be more relevant or relevant to you than just sort of a general description about what's available on the site, we also want to be cognizant of that and responsive to that, and potentially have a deeper dive into something about a particular resource. And so happy to hear from, you folks can let Lisa know or let me know. And again, we can always be willing to dig deeper on those things. And yeah. And Eric's links to the Indie Bar helpline, legal helpline, absolutely a great resource. And that's the Indianapolis Bar Association. And so that's an organization of lawyers, and they run a legal helpline where lawyers will volunteer to essentially answer, phone calls. And it's an excellent resource as well. And so I appreciate Eric making that reference and throwing that in there. And you don't have to be from Indianapolis. Yes, yeah, you don't have to be from Indianapolis. They will answer the question no matter where you're from. So,
I put the link in again, but if you're not able to see it, I'll be able to get a list of everyone so that I can get it sent out. So I apologize for the issue with not seeing the link, but so yeah, I'm not sure. I know I have it to everyone. So like I said, I will get a list of everybody that attended and make sure that I get that LEU out to everybody. But thank you so much again, and until the next one.
see you, everybody.